wisdom from Bhagavad Gita session. Radhe Radhe, over to you, Nitin ji.
Thank you, Pallavi ji. Radhe Radhe, a very warm good morning, good evening to all of you, and thank you, Prakash Bhai and Sunil Bhai, for a wonderful Patanjali Yoga Sutra session, like always. So welcome everybody to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. We will continue on our journey on Karm Yoga that we are talking about, and we'll see how do we transition or move from being a Karm Bhogi to being a Karm Yogi. That is what we're going to talk about. So let's get started, and of course our other segments that we are going to touch upon as well. So very warm welcome to all of you, and let's get underway. Give me a sec, I'll share my screen, I'll share sound. Okay, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right, a very warm welcome again. Let's get started by invoking the blessings of God and Guru, like we always do. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Okay, so Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening to all of you. Very warm welcome. So let's get started. Today we are going to continue on our fascinating discussion on the concept of Karm Yoga and the science of work. Okay, so I'm going to recite the shloka, and then there's another shloka that might bring a smile to your face. Very important shloka that will help us build on the discussion that we are having today. So I'm going to recite it, and then we will move to the next shloka, which you get an opportunity to recite as well. This is a shloka where the inaction is introduced, and of course no discussion is complete unless we talk about the shloka, important shloka, which directly talks about Karm Yoga. Now we'll recite it, and then we will proceed further. Karmanya karmaya pashed akarmani cha karmayah sabuddhiman manusheshu sayukta kritsna karma krit. So we can have few participants who can decide this and few the next one. So we can take few hands.
Radhe Radhe, Shyamji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Shyamji.
Radhe Radhe. Karmani karmaya pashyed karmani cha karmaya sabuddhimana manusyeshu sayukta kritsna karma krat. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Shyamji.
Rahul ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Rahul.
Radhe Radhe. Karmani karmaya pashed akarmani cha karmaya sabuddhiman manusheshu sayukta kritsna karma krit. Radhe Radhe.
Very nice. Thank you, Rahul. Maybe one more hand on this, and then we move on to the next one.
Keshav ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Keshav.
Radhe Radhe. Karmanya karmya pashed akarmani cha karmya sabuddhiman manusheshu sayukta kritsam karm krit. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, very nice. Thank you, Keshavji. Maybe one more hand on this one.
Sai Ram ji, Radhe Radhe, please
Radhe
go ahead.
Sai, good to see you.
Radhe Radhe. Karmanya karmaya pashed akarmani cha karmayah sabuddhiman manusyeshu sayukta kritsna karma krit.
Very nice. So in this shloka, Lord Krishna is saying those who see action in inaction and inaction in action are truly wise amongst humans. Although performing all kinds of actions, they are yogis and masters of all their actions. Now, inaction in action is basically Karm Yoga. So let's go back, take a quick detour, a reverse gear on 2.47 that we will speak about today. I will recite it. You're welcome to follow along. Karmanyavadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalheturbhu ma te sangostva karmani. All right, let's take a few hands. We haven't gotten an
Yes.
opportunity.
Uday Kumar ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
राधे राधे कर्मणि एवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भूर् मा ते संगोत्स्वकर्मणि. राधे राधे.
Oh, very nice, Radhe Radhe.
Sandhya ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Sandhya.
राधे राधे कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भू मा ते संगोऽस्तु कर्मणि.
Wonderful. So this shloka, I think pretty much all of the Indians, at least they would know, because as part of our growing up, there's something that everybody comes to know against, right? This is a fundamental shloka about, we talk about in action, then how do you do in action? And this shloka actually talks about that we are going to explore in great details over the course of our today's discussion and the forthcoming discussions as well. Let's take maybe 2 or 3 more hands real quick, and then we get into the topic of discussion today.
Ramesh ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Ramesh ji.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा फलहेतुर्भूः मा ते संगोऽस्त्वकर्मणि.
Wonderful, very nice, thank you.
Yeah, we can quickly take others. Tarun ji, Radhe Radhe, please
Got a
go
chance?
ahead.
Let's quickly take, because we have a lot of content to cover today. Maybe a couple of hands.
कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भू मा ते संगोऽस्त्वकर्मणि.
Wonderful, very nice. Jyoti.
Jyoti ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
राधे राधे कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भू मा ते संगोऽस्त्वकर्मणि. राधे राधे.
Very nice, thank you. Pallavi ji, you wanted to go as well?
Yes. Radhe Radhe. कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भुर् मा ते संगोऽस्त्वकर्मणि.
Very nice, thank you. I would encourage everybody to recite it at your place, because just reciting this shloka itself can start bringing about a lot of transformative effect. As you can see, it's like conversing with Krishna directly, and they are not ordinary words, right? So let's quickly take the last 2 hands, and then we get into our discussion. Riya ji,
Yes.
followed by Sairam ji.
Yes, Riya ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe. कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भू मा ते संगोऽस्त्वकर्मणि.
Wonderful, very nice, Sairam ji. Last but not the least.
Sairam
Radhe
ji,
Radhe.
please go ahead. Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, good to see you too, Nitin ji. I couldn't say that last time.
The
Okay, I'll
feeling is-
start.
Thank you.
Okay. कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भुर् मा ते संगोऽस्त्वकर्मणि.
Wonderful, very nice. Now, people talk about in the work, they talk about stress. They talk about anxiety. They talk about insecurity, right? And Krishna, being a master psychologist, gave a formula which is a silver bullet, or you can call it a Ramban in one shloka. As we will explore the depths of the shloka, we'll understand how. So what he says in this is, you have a right to perform your prescribed duties, but you are not entitled to the fruits of your actions. Never consider yourself to be the cause of the results of your activities, nor be attached to inaction. Okay, so let's get started like we always do. Okay, so by the way, let's start with the, congratulating on Chandrayaan-3, the mission that happened. So we'll do a quick sneak peek on the who's who, or the brains behind, or the sharpshooters behind this mission, right? 1,000 engineers and about plus 1,000 scientists and about 700 crore, which is about 70 million rupees, not dollars, okay, project. And these are the key folks. Okay, just try to compile the list of it. We don't need to go through. The interesting thing is the ISRO chairman, the S. Somanath, right, who's the ISRO chairman, one of the key folks who orchestrated and managed this project amongst the other directors who led this project as well. His name is Somanath. Okay, and Somanath means
Bholenath.
Lord of the Moon. Right, kind of I don't know whether his father was prophetic or what happened, but this is what he ended up doing. He created the vehicle which affected the launch. Okay, you need a very solid vehicle to actually be able to launch, and we saw, right, what all lessons we can learn from a rocket. So is the guy. So this is the team, and it's a fantabulous job that they all have done. Right, now let's move on. Lessons from Chandrayaan. Let's quickly look at it. Of course, it puts India on the marquee list of very few countries who have that ability to basically tie Rakhi to moon from here on. Soviet Union, US, China, and now India is in that elite league. Okay. Now, what are the key lessons? Let's look at it. Failure is a stepping stone to success. Okay, this is a very key lesson from this whole thing. Why? Because the learnings that they failed in the previous one. So if you look at it, this whole mission actually requires, there's something called a soft launch there, right? So because the rocket, which goes at around 10 times the speed of an aeroplane, and it has to come to a standstill very quickly. Okay, it has to come, so that whole horizontal motion has to convert into a vertical motion, and that standstill has to happen very quickly within a matter of few minutes. And that is where they had failed the last time. Okay, just imagine something which is hurtling at a speed of 10 times of an aeroplane, and all of a sudden, if you don't get it right, physics, projectile, and all that stuff that comes into the mix, you get it wrong. And that's exactly what had happened in the previous mission, Chandrayaan-2. They lost the transmission when they were about 15 kilometers or something like that, close to their destination. That is what had happened. So that failure actually became a stepping stone, because they did the failure testing in this one. Okay, that was their complete focus, to do the failure testing. What all can go wrong, and that is how they designed it. And if you look at it, basically, if Mr. Thomas Watson, the legendary IBM CEO, is also tried, if you want to increase your success rate, double your failure rate. And like Bhagavad Gita says, either there is failure, either there is success, or there is learning. There is nothing like failure. You succeed or you learn. That's how it goes. I want to show you a small cliplet of Virat Kohli, also what he's talking about failure, so that you can map it to that context. So, but the key thing is, they took their learnings from that mission and learned from that mistake, and then that became a stepping stone for this success. The second key thing that I think we can learn is, like Edmund Hillary, the guy who had scaled Everest, he told Everest when he failed for the first time, he said, I will come again and conquer you. Because as a mountain, you can't grow, as a human, I can. It's a very important lesson to understand. As humans, we are evolving. We are the sentient Shakti of God, not the Jad Shakti of God. So as sentient Shakti, we are evolving all the time. So if you form a stereotype or an opinion about somebody, just because you had an experience 5 years back, right? If we form opinion about people, he's like that only. That may not be right, because people are evolving. They can change. Okay? So just because you had some kind of an experience, no. And that gives us an ability to keep on improvising and evolve. And that gives us an edge. So this is exactly what he had done. And this basically reiterates the concept where Lord Krishna is saying, Mamevansho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. You are my eternal fragmental parts. And we have infinite potential and can achieve anything that we set our eyes on. Okay, because of that fact. Okay. And adapt and adjust is the key here, as we will see here. These are just very few lessons I'm talking about. But as we are celebrating this huge monumental occasion, it's important to reflect on it and see what all we can learn from it, right? And no discussion is complete until we bring Bhagavad Gita into the mix around this concept. So let's look at it. cycle se chand tak, like the journey that we have done. 3.2021 says that, like Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. And if India has been making technological advancements, it's only imperative on them to take it to the next level, right? Which can serve humanity in long run, not just India. So when there is an opportunity to do something good, not only for yourself, but for the world, go for it. And whatever standard you set, the other match up to it. Now you'll see so many countries will join the race. They'll improvise and get better at this technology, which eventually would help serve humanity in long run, right? So next time, if somebody goes and sets their foot on moon, they will see an Indian flag hoisted there, not only at the center, but on the pole as well now. Okay. And now, if you look at this whole event, isn't this development glorious? Beautiful expression of indomitable spirit of humans and exhibition of power of infinite potential. These three adjectives, if you look at it, right? Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita down 1041, he says, whatever you see as beautiful, glorious, or powerful, know it to spring from but a spark of my splendor. He's given us this ability, as we will keep on exploring during the course of Bhagavad Gita, and it's only a spark of his splendor that we are able to manifest from time to time, right? To great endeavors such as these. All right, now let's start with our session. We start with a soup appetizer, then we go to our main course, which is the philosophical discussion on the verse itself, and then the dessert part of it, which is our devotional chanting part. So that's what's the soul soup for the day. Let's look at it. The soul soup of the day is we are competing only against ourselves. Okay, you are a lone mountaineer only competing against yourself. What that means is, if you today, the version of yours today is better than the version that you had yesterday, and which is less better than what it is going to be tomorrow, you are on the right path. You are not competing with anybody else, but with yourself. So rather than going for becoming better than somebody, you have to become the best version of ourselves, and that is the key. Now, how does that process unfold? I'm going to talk about the 4-quadrant thing. You might have come across it previously. Let's look at it. The process starts with subconscious and subconscious on one side and competence on the other quadrant. So subconscious incompetence, it starts with subconscious incompetence, where we are incompetent in things, but we are not even aware of it. It's like a blind spot. When we drive a car, there are certain blind spots that we carry. So we have subconscious incompetence that we deal with in so many walks of our life. Okay. Then what happens? The next quadrant is we move from subconscious incompetence towards conscious incompetence. Now you are aware, this is the weak point that I have or weakness that I have that I need to work on, right? This is how it unfolds, even in the material world for that matter, right? Then what happens? Then you become consciously competent. You are working towards it and you are consciously competent in that particular skill. Like driving a car, first you can't drive it. Then that, okay, you struggle while changing the gears when you're applying the accelerator or brake, and then you practice hard enough, and then you become consciously competent. Then the uphill is coming. I have to up the gear or down the gear accordingly. So then that is called conscious competence until it becomes your second nature, which is called subconscious competence. Then you start driving it. You are talking also and listening to music also, and everything is working like a smooth sail. So these are the 4 stages that we go through whenever we have to become a better version of ourselves, or we have to acquire a new skill in any walk of life. And where spirituality helps, of course, is bringing in that conscious incompetence. First of all, when we start on this path to understand the higher principles, the divine principles, we carry a certificate, we are good people, right? We are Karm Yogis, because I do yoga in the morning and do work throughout the day, so I'm Karm Yogi. But then you are exposed to the higher knowledge, you start understanding those principles. So conscious incompetence starts, things which we do not even aware about ourselves, they start coming to the fore. Oh my God, so much of homework is remaining, right? I need to work on so many aspects on myself. And then, of course, we through seva, sadhana, and other practices, by contemplation and subscribing to proper knowledge, joining sessions, all that stuff, then we start acquiring conscious competence until it becomes your second nature. And then you move on to the next thing. The good thing is, once we understand this framework and once we have done it for one thing, that is easily extensible to other walks of life as well. Okay, that is how our brains are. All right, so we are competing only against ourselves. We are not competing with anybody else, right? No, this is one of the teachings that Krishna gave to Karan as well. Karan spent his entire life competing with Arjun. He said, rather than becoming Sarvashresht, become Sarvottam. If you become the best version of yourself, you're not competing with anybody else but with yourself. And if you continue to do that, you will anyway excel in whatever you are doing. Our problem happens when we start competing with people around and narrow our focus around it. Let's move on. Get to the verse now. All right, we spoke about this concept of work. We perform work, like a surgeon is performing a surgery. That is a regular patient. Surgeon is dealing with a regular patient. And then when the surgeon is dealing with the own son, their hands will start shaking. Similarly, when a teacher is teaching at the school, regular students, it's fairly a regular job for them. But when it comes to teaching the own kid, they start getting hyper emotional and attached as well. So basically that led us to the principle that we spoke about, that there is a difference in the way we perform work. There are works that we perform using our mind and intellect. This is the work I need to do and this is the skill that is needed. And then there is work where, of course, we need our mind and intellect plus attachment comes as well. And that is the basis of this whole discussion that we are going to have. Okay. So that led us to the actions. If you look at actions, they fall into these two categories. Type 1, which requires your mind and intellect, because you have to take decisions, you have to think, you have to understand the skills that are needed, and it is limited at that only. And then there are actions, type 2 actions, which are mind and intellect, of course, is needed. Plus, there is an attachment aspect of it as well. I need this outcome from this. Okay, I will feel good only if desirable outcome comes like this, or I will be upset or sad or frustrated if it doesn't happen. There's an element of attachment related to it as well. There are two kinds of actions. That sets the basis for our discussion. And we also said that our mind is very malleable. It is trainable, malleable. We have heard in chemistry, right? Something that can be hammered or pressed permanently out of shape without breaking or cracking. So our mind is so much trainable that it can be trained infinitely. It has infinite potential to be trained. That kind of a software is given to us by God, right? Which can store the impressions and sanskars of infinite lifetimes, and then you can train it, retrain it, and shape it the way you want. You can carve out your reality with your mind. So this was where we left our discussion yesterday. Now let's move on. The building blocks of Karm Yoga. We said there are 4 aspects of Karm Yoga. 4 tenets of Karm Yoga that we will go in great detail. The first one is do your duty, do not concern yourself with the result. That's the first principle. The second one says fruits of your actions are not for your enjoyment. Third one says even while working, give up the pride of doership. Fourth one, do not be attached to inaction. Right? So they may seem a little esoteric, but we'll go one tenet at a time in great detail and look at it through different lens and take questions around it as well. So let's get started. Do your duty, do not concern yourself with the results. That's the first one, right? So let's look at it. Why and what does it mean? Now, result influencers, let's understand. Okay, now you have to wear your thinking caps on and really think about it. The result of any action is influenced by a lot of factors. What are those factors? Our efforts, of course. The harder you work, the luckier you get. It says our efforts count a lot. How much hard work we have put in for that particular thing, right? There's a destiny aspect as well, which controls 10 to 15% of our life. We cannot be fatalist. Okay, bhagya mein, if it's written in my fate, it will happen. If not, then done. And that is one of the negative connotations attached to Sanatan Dharma, that we are fatalist. The real way of looking at it is, of course, there is an element of prarabdha, destiny in our life. But it constitutes or it influences about 10 to 15%, not more than that. In addition to that, we have an ability, free will or purusharth, the ability to exercise our free will and do hard work. That also is a big influencer, which is our effort aspect of it. Sandhya, you had a question?
Please go ahead, Radhe Radhe Sandhya ji. Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, I'm just curious. Like you said, 10 to 15%. Is there a way? I mean, reason why you said that, or just to say a
I
minor?
I did research for all the people across all the lifetimes and came with that statistic. I heard Swamiji tell that actually in one of the SMX sessions. Okay. So I don't quote numbers just like that. Any information that I'm bringing in has been vetted through Swamiji or through some scripture, or I've heard Maharaji say that. So I don't bring it from my own thing because I don't have the ability. But yeah, it's about 10 to 15%, not more than that. The key thing is it's like a game of poker. People who play cards here, Teen Patti or poker, you will know that the hand that you are dealt with is fixed. That is called the destiny, right? The cards that you got is fixed. But how you play with it is your kriyaman or your effort. Now you can win with bad cards or you can lose with good cards. That is why the big bridge tournaments and poker tournaments are conducted. So 10 to 15% is definitely dictated through destiny. But the point is, you will never come to know whether it was a lack of self-effort or it was predestined. You will never come to know. So the good policy is to put in your best in whatever you do. Right? There is a saying in English which says that if there is anything worth doing, it is worth doing well. So you cannot have a chai chalta hai attitude for anything in life if you have taken it up, right? So that is the key. That is a message from Bhagavad Gita as well. Don't lean on destiny. Focus on your self-effort. Even the diseases, it could be karmaj or doshaj. Karmaj are called the one that you take upon yourself. Like if you're drinking away to glory, smoking away to glory, having a sedentary lifestyle, those diseases that you get in middle age or later ages, those are karmaj. And in addition to that, there are doshaj also. You may be born in a family which has a genetic predisposition to diabetes or some other disease. That is doshaj. But again, you will never come to know whether it is karmaj or doshaj. So it's better to live a responsible life. Regardless, even if you get a disease or not a disease, you are still putting indelible impressions on your sanskars, your mindset. And this mind is something which travels with us across lifetimes. We shed this body, but when our soul departs, the subtle body, which goes along with our soul, takes on those sanskars. So if you have a tendency or predisposition to certain vices, you will repeat with the same mind. So as a kid, you may not, but as when you grow as an adult, those sanskars will manifest. And again, you'll have to fight with yourself there. So why not fight with it now? With an understanding that I'm only digging a pit for myself or succumbing to these things, which I'll have to climb over anyways, right? So these are the that is the second result influencer. The third one is the effort of others. How can you undermine the effort of others? Just because I worked hard, you cannot say somebody else did not work hard. Their effort also counts. This is also a variable at play. Right? And there is something called cumulative karmas of people involved as well. That is also at play. Our scriptures tell us that also has a play in it. So I don't know what it means, but if there was something to erupt, I think it might be in Vegas or some city. I don't know, where the cumulative karma is not good. We don't know that, but it could happen. Wrong timing at because of the cumulative karma of people. And then the will of God, of course, there's a honi aspect of it as well, right? That happens as well. I'm not going to get into that, but if somebody has a question, I can explain you what that means. Honi aspect is there as well. And then the place and situation, matter of luck, all those factors come into play. So these factors, there are big influences. Now we have a right to do our duty, but the results are not dependent upon our efforts alone. Let's understand that there is a controllable zone and there is a non-controllable zone in our efforts. Now, what happens if my duty, if I continue to be concerned with the result? Now, you say I have a right to be concerned, because if I don't think about the result, how will I perform? That's the first argument everybody presents, right? We'll tackle that very systematically with some examples too. Now, if I continue to be concerned with the results, what happens? The next thing that happens, it will lead to expectation. Okay, this should happen. I need to hit this particular goal or a target. Then what happens? Leads to expectation, leads to anxiety. Now you're becoming anxious, worrying about it. Right? This is a very subtle machinery. This is how this whole process unfolds in our head. Now anxiety, and then anxiety can lead to suboptimal performance as well. And then that performance will get impacted, because mind is one, right? Either you are thinking about that, so it will lead to suboptimal performance. In fact, great sportsmen and athlete, they know how to channelize this slight nervousness or anxiety into their performance. If you read about some of the interviews of Tendulkar, Roger Federer, or some of the great athletes, they said it's good to feel a little bit of butterfly, but then they focus on the moment. They don't think too far ahead. In fact, in some of their anecdotes, if you look at it, they say whenever they think too far ahead, they fall behind in the game. So just the next point, just the next ball. They don't think beyond that. And that is the secret to their success, to perform or have their best performance, not a suboptimal performance. Let's look at it further. Now, humorous acronym for this is NATO, not attached to outcome. Don't be attached to outcome. Put in your best. Do as if everything depends on you. But when it comes to result, what, have prasad buddhi, whatever result is dispensed despite my best effort, make peace with it. So that is the part. Now let's move on. Now in this particular thing, when you hear this science of Karm Yoga, people often wonder if they give up attachment to results, will their performance go down? That is the first thing that comes to your mind. Lord Krishna says, no, it doesn't work that way. So couple of examples: a surgeon, a master surgeon, when he's working, he's cranking out surgeries one after another, right, with precision, because he's not attached to the outcome. He's doing it as a matter of his duty. So he's at his best performance. But the same surgeon, if his own kid is on the table, now he's attached to the outcome, his hands will start shaking. So attachment to result does not increase your performance, it brings it down. Very simple example. Right? Same thing about the teacher I spoke about. Teacher, when she's teaching at school, she's putting in her best. She's just doing it as a matter of duty. But when it cuts to kid, oh my God, my kid has to be the top. He should get this rank, this grade. And there's an attachment aspect of it, which makes them, become hyper and angry and emotional and all that stuff. Those kind of things start coming. Same example we have given about the surgeon. And basically this tells that when you work without attachment, then we can be at our maximum skill without feeling nervous, jittery, scared, tense, or excited. Even in, you've seen people walking on a tightrope. When they walk on a tightrope in circus, if they have even little doubt that they're going to fall, they will fall. So they cannot think too far ahead. It's like firm conviction that they're going to do that. That much impact it has on our performance. And I'll give you some more examples, okay? Live examples from some contemporary that I'm going to show you shortly. Yes, Prabhat, you had a question?
Radhe Radhe, Prabhat ji, please go ahead. Oh, let me try unmuting you.
Thank you. So,
Yes.
actually, as Nitinji, you mentioned that not attached to the outcome. So, in most of the cases, what we observe, like without any outcome, we don't have any motivation. So, outcomes sometimes work as a motivation. So, we can also take it as the whatever duty we are doing. It is like our seva, and it is for happiness of Krishna. So in that way, we can attach it to the outcome also, right? That is
See,
also possible,
outcome,
na?
again, other question that come is, outcome does not mean you don't set goals and milestones. Of course, you have to set goals. If you don't see a goal, how else will you proceed? So setting goals and milestones is perfectly okay. When we say don't be attached to the outcome, you have a bigger understanding. You have set a goal and you do your 200% towards it. It doesn't mean that you are saying chalta hai, dekhenge jo hoga, I'm not attached to whatever happens. No, it means you still set goals, but have a superior understanding that I'm going to focus on my controllables and do my best, right? So when you do that, then it will keep you away from anxiety, worry, and other things, and it will bring, and that is the best you can do anyways. You think by worrying you can do better? I don't think so that's the case. Let's go a little deeper and then we'll come back to that. Stephen Covey, who had written this book of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he in his testimony, he was talking about that when he came to India, that he actually drew a lot of inspiration from Bhagavad Gita. And when I read that book, it's like, okay, he's just, touching the Bhagavad Gita principles at the surface. Okay, so what he spoke about are 2 circles. Let's talk about those now. He said that there's a circle of control. Okay, what is the circle of control? And then there is a circle of no control whatsoever. There are 2 circles in our lives for every situation. Okay, now what is the circle of, let's talk about these circles. The result comes in a circle of no control whatsoever. We don't control the result. What do we control? We control the effort, because results, they are dependent on so many other variables which are beyond our control, right? Destiny, will of God, other stuff that we spoke about. And then When you focus on circle of outer control, which is beyond our control, then it can cause anger, frustration, self-doubts, and subpar performance. Okay. And anxiety, stress, all comes from that only. Anxiety and stress doesn't come from work, right? Even the people who work 24 hours, 18 hours a day, they may not even have stress. It doesn't come from work. It comes from the expectation of the outcome that causes stress, not the work. Okay, that is the thing. That is a key thing. Now let's look at the circle, continuing with this. Now, circle of control is effort. How much intensity we can bring, discipline, perseverance, positive approach, confidence, hard work, and it leads to build confidence, becoming better at what we are doing. Odds of our exceeding our potential, makes people work enjoyable, focus on present, removes distraction, and deepens detached attachment. Detached attachment means you are attached, basically the goal that you have, but you are detached because understand you may hit it or you may not hit. There are other variables controlling it, but despite that, you do your best. Okay, this is the principle. And the serenity prayer, it comes in very handy. The serenity prayer says, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Our problem happens, why does stress comes? We try to control the things which are beyond our circle of control, as if thinking repeatedly about it is going to change the outcome. That is what causes stress. Right? This formula was given to us by 5,000 years back by Lord Krishna. Focus on the efforts, not on the results. Now, let me give you a couple of examples on how it can be practically implemented and how people have actually utilized it to for their benefit in the respective professions that they have been. Yes, Sandhya, you had a question?
Please go ahead, Sandhya ji. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. The serenity prayer is amazing. So, but this aspect about wisdom, for being able to distinguish between the two, how can one, like, of course, attending the class, but in terms of our daily life, how can we really enhance that skill or that, that discriminatory power?
Right. So wisdom is applied knowledge, right? Wisdom is applied knowledge. Now, knowledge is something which is a very important thing in our life. Now, are we letting the knowledge happen to us through our friend circle, through Google, through advertisements, through our own experience, through what people say, or are we systematically acquiring it by subscribing to right kind of knowledge, right kind of book, right kind of company? That choice is ours. That is the theoretical part of it. The applied part of it is called wisdom. The realized knowledge is called wisdom, right? So there was a story, right? There was a parrot who was told, he was told that the hunter will come, he'll lay the net, but don't fall for it. So parrot said, okay, hunter will come, he'll lay the net, don't fall for it. Hunter will come, lay the net, don't fall for it. And then the hunter comes, he lays the net, he catches the parrot, and parrot, while he's caught in the net and going along with the hunter, is still saying, hunter will come, he'll lay the parrot, don't fall for it. So the point is, that was a theoretical knowledge. So this can only happen when you, first of all, make it a routine in your life, subscribing to the proper knowledge. Second is, use your life, day-to-day life, as a laboratory to try those principles out. And third is, keep contemplating upon it until it becomes your second nature, and then it will become a matter of greed because it is very empowering. Then it becomes wisdom. Otherwise, it's mere theoretical knowledge, which is of no use to anybody. It can be a burden on you because you think you know it all, and then you wait for your retirement, or you think that this is something that can wait, and you miss out on the opportunity to enrich your life with all these beautiful nuggets of wisdom that are already laid out for us in form of Bhagavad Gita, and knowledge and all that stuff is available. And then we miss out on another opportunity in life. That's about it. It's like another mediocre life, right? Like backbencher, we spend and fritter away another life. So wisdom, to bridge the gap between knowledge and wisdom, that onus is entirely on us. And it has to be on an ongoing basis where we do prioritize. Nobody else is going to prioritize it for us because it is for our own best interest only. Right? And we said we are only competing with ourselves. We're not competing with anybody else. And if we truly think, we care about ourselves and our self-interest, then this becomes a no-brainer for anybody to subscribe to this understanding and knowledge and start investing in it as early as possible in life and not delay it. Nobody knows whether they will even reach retirement or not, right? A lot of people, they don't even wake up the next day. So many news we hear. what is that? You miss out on the opportunity. Who's to be blamed for that? You only, yourself for that. So wisdom, glad you brought up that point. So wisdom is the realized knowledge, and that can only happen when we make it a priority. Nobody can give us a magic pill and we become wise. It is a bit of an effort until it starts becoming our second nature. Now let's look at some videos. Okay, I wanted to play first on the failure one, then another one, and then another one. So let's hear. Let me know if you're able to hear it.
Hi, how
is the audio?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
Good to see you. You okay? Yeah, I'm okay. How are you? Good. Could you guys play the dance? How do you handle failures, man? Failures, yeah. Failures are the most important thing in life because success doesn't teach you as much. It boosts your ego.
So success doesn't teach you anything, it boosts your ego. Okay, coming directly from Mr. Kohli. He went through a very big slump in his life when he went to England, and then he came back, he was a completely transformed player. So these people, they look at failures as a stepping stone, right? Chandrayaan, we looked at that. You can actually map it to that. Now let's look at Mr. Dhoni, what he says. In fact, a few days back, I was, pleasantly surprised, not surprised. In fact, I had kind of an inkling. This guy, the way he talks in interviews, he must be reading Bhagavad Gita somewhere, and he was actually carrying that book. Let's hear something what about the process part of it.
What if this happens? What if we don't win the game? What if we don't get selected? But again, worry about the controllables, and whatever the controllables are, we take care of it, we'll get the desired result. If we don't get the desired result, we'll improve. We'll change our plans, we'll execute better, and we'll get a chance to prove ourselves again. So, that's what it is. Thinking about the result never gives you a result. Yes, you may have a target in mind, but what is more important is to take care of the small steps in life, what needs to be done, what I am supposed to do, what extra I can do, and, that will help us achieve that.
So setting target, setting goal is important, but focus on the small step, focus on the process. And this has become a buzzword. You listen to some of the interviews of Roger Federer, Djokovic, the high achievers, they talk the same language. They might not have read Bhagavad Gita, but when you start reaching the peak or, of your power, you realize some of the laws, the laws that work in your favor, and people latch on to it, and then they start excelling in their lives. It's a very simple principle. Now I'll tell you about Mr. Michael Phelps, who is the most successful Olympian till date. And what he's going to talk about, we'll discuss a little bit after that, and then we'll take the questions. Let's hear what he's talking about. Very, very important thing.
I know deep down inside that was the best that I could do that day. So recently on the blog, I've been talking a lot about the problems with outcome-focused thinking and the benefits of process-focused thinking. Now, there's been several studies that have been conducted that show the benefits of process-focused thinking. But just to kind of talk you through it very briefly, there's two main problems when we focus on the outcome of our efforts. First of all, we lose sight of the growth and progress made along the way while we were working towards achieve that desired outcome. And then secondly, we neglect to create a strategy or a process that will lead us to success. But when we focus on the process, we're able to focus on what we can do daily to achieve our goal. And we're not obsessing with and focusing on the future outcome that we're working towards. We're instead just worrying about what we can do every single day to ensure that we move closer and closer to achieving our set goal for ourselves. As you know, it is the 2016 Olympics in Rio, and easily the most decorated Olympic swimmer in the history of the sport is Michael Phelps. And I was listening in on an interview between him and Bob Costas. And Bob Costas asked him a question that directly relates to this topic of outcome and process-focused thinking. You're a guy who likes closure. You like the chapter to end the way you envision it ending. So suppose in Rio, you do really, really well. But in your last individual event, the 100 fly, you take a silver instead of a gold. Would that haunt you?
So Costas asked a question that, as you can tell, is focused on the outcome. He basically says, Phelps, if you were to go through your final race and you were not to achieve your desired outcome, which of course would be winning gold, would that haunt you? Why I love Phelps's response is because his response immediately shows that he is clearly thinking about the process as opposed to the outcome.
That haunt you? No, because I know I could look back at how I prepared and I would know that I did, but Bob and I did whatever we could do to prepare ourselves to be the best. So I think now being able to prepare how we have, I'm willing to accept whatever results I get. I mean, sure, will I be ticked off? Probably, but I'll know deep down inside that was the best that I could do that day.
So I just love this response from Phelps because it shows you his mindset. It shows you that he is solely focused on putting in the hard work and dedication that is needed to achieve his goals. He understands that he cannot control the outcome of his efforts. He can simply control the work that he gets done in order to achieve those goals. And it just shows you that he is totally focused on the process. So just to kind of wrap things up, as we've learned today from our homeboy, Michael Phelps, when you are working towards a goal, all you can do, all you can control is putting in the work needed to achieve your desired outcome. So focus on that, focus on the process that is required to achieve your goals, and trust that if you put in the hard work, it will pay off.
Okay. So I hope you understood the key message here. This guy has said that if in your final race you end up winning a silver, would you think, how would you feel? He said, deep down, I know I did my best. So that is the best I could have done. And that's such a good acceptance that you have, and also the understanding and what is the best you can bring into the fore, and beyond that you don't control. And that probably enabled him to be the most successful Olympian. Focus on the process, do your best, put in your 200%, but don't have an outcome oriented mindset right from the beginning. Setting target is fine. Setting goals is good. We all do that in our corporates, right? We can't work without goals. But when you are obsessed with the outcome, your performance will take a dip. And that is essentially what this shloka is telling us. The first thing, you have a right to perform your action, but you don't have a right to expect a particular kind of a result, because it's a variable of so many things. When you have acceptance, your performance will actually start increasing manifolds, and stress and all the negative things that come along with it will be put in perspective. All right, with that, we'll open it up for any questions, and then we will move on basically tomorrow to the second tenet. No, tomorrow we have a quiz, by the way. So all the people, tomorrow you need to join in early, Kahoot time. Let's test our knowledge, what we have understood. So it's going to be really exciting. We'll have 50 plus people playing tomorrow, and I'll get to participate. Our quiz master is ready, right, Rahul? Or Sandhya, who's the quiz master this time around? Rahul. All the best. And Chicky, you're going to play with your name tomorrow, right? Nobody plays with my name. And Laddu, no nervousness, okay, tomorrow. So we'll see. Great. Shyamji, top 15 tomorrow. Yes, let's take some questions.
Yes, Kumarji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Jai Shri Ram, everyone.
Jai Shri
Ram. Nitinji, I think well said. What happens is, MS Dhoni, when he talks about process, and a lot of people who are talking about process, having said that what we can do is our best, right? The efforts, but the outcome is not in our hands. So better not fret about it, right? And a lot of life coaches say this. I have seen so many YouTube videos, inspiring videos and all that stuff. They are basically taking it from the Bhagavad Gita. There is absolute, it's like old wine in a new bottle. So if you see from Bhagavad Gita, people are not going to probably pay those big bucks to come and see those folks, right? So they kind of write their books and all that stuff, but it's all the essence of Bhagavad Gita. Once we understand that, then we are much better off. We are like one step. We don't need to go to several places to get this stuff. Bhagavad Gita says it all. And I have proof of the NATO principle. I'm living proof of it at work. I have done that. I've tried that. Not the more I didn't get attached to the result, the more freer I became. And suddenly, I think I've explained in various things, the worse my project went, the more carefree I came, and I was able to see very clearly what to do to mitigate those risks and all that stuff. And my manager was saying, you know what, I'm concerned. Aren't you? I said, no, I'm not concerned. It's not my baby. It's God's baby. And I'm like, what? So I gave her a spiritual spiel, but anyway, so, I think one should try that to see it works, because a lot of people become anxious. I used to too as well. And then I tried this NATO principle, things just blossomed, and no looking back. Thank you. Jai Shri Ram.
Sharing that. I want to share my own example. When I was doing my master's here, when I started, people used to ask me, what is your ROI? Okay, why do you want to do it? What is your return on investment? It was pretty expensive at that point. And what do you want to achieve? Do you have a certain salary package? Do you have certain designation in mind that you want to achieve by doing this? And honestly, I just told them I don't know. Okay, all I want to is I just want to do it because something tells me I should do it. And I don't have any ROI or anything. Or I just want to enjoy that experience of studying here and doing masters here, because a lot of people had told me, studying is an experience in itself. And that was all that was there in my mind. So I wanted to just enjoy that experience. And that's how I joined. So when I joined there, I started with the studies, of course. And then my first term went, I got an A+. I don't know. I was just doing my best. I was enjoying it. Second semester, A+. Third, A+. And then, it started playing. I said, wow, how nice it would be if I continue having A+, straight A+. And then the fourth sem, I started thinking about it, the result part of it. My God, I need to get an A+. And then I started thinking about, and guess what? That was the first time I got my first B. Okay, because, and then that immediately pulled me back into this thing. You know what? As long as I was doing it, as a matter of just doing your best, the results were automatically taken care of. And the moment I started getting attached to, how nice it would be, so that's when I got my first, I think it was probably A or A negative or B or something like that. But first grade that I missed like that. And after that it was corrected. But that was the clear proof on how your work or performance takes a beating when you start thinking about the results. And I've experienced it multiple times, even at work and all. So many things that I only craved for, which I was trying hard for, would keep on eluding you. And when it's like whatever, you just do your immediate thing, but those things start chasing you. And that is something I experienced multiple times in my corporate life and other things as well. You try out this principle and see, where it takes you. But yeah, it takes a bit of understanding, contemplation, and faith too. And I start aligning to these principles. And you don't need to do anything different other than changing your consciousness, the way you're approaching something. That's all. Mental state of your mind around approaching something. Yes, Sandhya. And then Monica ji has a question as well, and Keshav ji. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, Sandhya ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
How to get this confidence that I have done my best?
That's a good question. If Mr. Edison, he had how many failures? He had about 4,000 or something like failures. He was a disaster when he was trying to make an electric bulb. Now, if he had thought about after his first attempt that, he has done his best, then we would not have seen electric bulb and we'd not be talking to each other today the way we are looking at each other, right? I think this is one of those things where deep down, like Mr. Michael Phelps said, deep down, as you keep on, putting in work, effort, your intuition starts getting harnessed. There's still more some gas left in you to do your best, or, it's enough to move on. It's now time to have a prasad buddhi, accept that, move on. So that intuition keeps on getting harnessed, which will guide you. Have you done your best, or you need to try maybe one more time? Because perseverance is a great skill to have on this path as well, right? If you give up on the very first attempt, then are you saying I am attached, obsessed with the outcome, or are you saying, what, probably I've not done my best, I need to retry? That is something, that power we have to starts getting harnessed as you keep on progressing. So your intuition becomes your compass at that point.
And just one more question. So when we are completely focused on the process, is there a possibility that at some point of time we can miss out on the bigger picture and just get entangled with the little
Big picture is always there. See, this is a big picture thing is always needed, right? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Right? So that picture has to be, that is where the clarity,
constantly remind ourselves of that.
Clarity is needed why I'm doing what I'm doing, right?
Right.
Because you cannot be a micro, have this shoehorn view of about something. The big picture always has to be, I'm doing this because, that because has to be clear. Very true. Good questions though. Yes, Monica ji.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe, Monica ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Nitinji, this is a continuing question from yesterday's question. I couldn't ask. I had my hand raised. Can I ask that now?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So we were talking about anger yesterday, right? So one of the questions popped up in my head was, Rishi Munis, especially like Rishi Durvasa, he was always angry. So how could they attain that state and we have to ensure that we don't have anger anymore?
That's a good question. So basically, see these sages, even Sanat Kumars, those 4 Kumars who cursed Jai Vijay. Now Kumars are already situated in Brahman. So after God realization, do you get anger, right? That's the question. So basically, that's part of Durvasa's seva is to create tricky circumstances for the devotees so that God is glorified further when God comes and rescues them. So we don't copy them. We are part of the Leela only. So that's their seva. They don't lose temper. And if when they curse somebody, it's actually a blessing in disguise for them. If you look at all the stories, if you tie the knots, it actually turns out to be a blessing in disguise. So in Leela Jagat, those things are happened. They are not to be emulated until we have reached that pedestal. But from our standpoint, anger is the fastest, like I told you, right? It's when we are playing this like game of life in forms of snakes and ladders, this is the biggest snake which takes you from 99 all the way back to 1. So anger we got to be really careful about because it can bewilder our memory. And when our memory is bewildered, our intellect is clouded. And when our intellect is clouded, we cannot make proper decisions, right? Navjot Singh Sidhu, he killed somebody when he got angry. So many incidents happen in life, right? Because of anger. So in 2.63, Krishna says, right? Krodhat bhavati sammoha sammohat smriti vibhrama smriti vranshad buddhi nashat pranashyati. So when we lose the discrimination power because our judgment is clouded, there's no difference between us and animals at that point. So anger is like the most dangerous thing we can fall for. So we need to control it. Yeah.
So what about extreme situations, Nitinji? Now, for example, I was watching Siyake Ram, and obviously not comparing, humans with Sri Ram, but then Sri Ram is like Maryada Purushottam, perfect every time, right? But when he sees Jatayu with his wings cut, so he got angry on Ravan. So obviously not comparing there, but this is like a extreme situation where any human might get angry. So anger at that time is justified, or we have to become then?
What we do is called karma. What God does is called Leela.
Chalo, Shri Ram ka example chhod do. Extreme situation where someone has done wrong. Someone has done like absolutely wrong, and human, it's not possible to just digest it. So
anger, see, again, of course, our threshold will keep on increasing. Anger is actually not justified. That can bring you down very quickly. So we cannot justify anger at any point. Yes, you can put on an act, like hissing is allowed, but we need to constantly work on our inner self. Anger is not good. I'll tell you a story of Shankaracharya where the guy comes and says, make me your disciple. He said, you have a defect of anger within you. I will not. Okay. So then when this guy comes, he asks a lady, janitor there, who's sweeping thing, to put dust on him. So when she puts dust on him, he becomes upset. What, this, that. He said, you're not ready, go do sadhana. When he comes after an year, he said, put the dust on him again. She puts dust on him. This time he does not react, but something within him changes. He feels that. He said, you're still not ready. Third time, he said, go put dust on him. And this time he was calm. In fact, he said, you were my first guru, you taught me that. So he conquered this whole defect completely. So anger is not good for our spiritual journey. It's like a poison that you take, and it's the fastest way to derail your journey. So we have to work on it. We cannot say this anger is justified, this is not. In fact, your intensity, the threshold of your anger should start increasing. First, somebody will touch you and you'll feel angry. Other time, somebody will poke you, now you'll feel angry. Third time, somebody will punch you, then you'll feel angry. Until we reach a stage where it's like, you know what? You just have a compassion for the person because they need help, kind of a deal. That is a very advanced stage, but at least theoretically, that is the state we need to start working towards.
So even when you see, let's say, a decent person getting hurt by someone, let's say bullying, you tend to get angry, right?
You do the right thing. You tell them this is not the right behavior. You still don't have. You can be firm and gentle without getting upset. There's no need for you to get upset. You can still coach people. Why would you get angry? Right? Think about it. Why would you get angry? You would still talk sense. Why can't you talk sense in that sense? Who's stopping you from talking sense at that moment? That doesn't mean you have to shout, yell, and do something different. Right? See, there was a guy
Yeah.
who came to Buddha and he said, I want to become your disciple and preach and go out. Buddha said, then what if people don't give you bhiksha? What will you do? He said, then I will think, you know what, at least they are not abusing me. He said, what if they start abusing you? He said, then I will think at least they're not hitting me. They said, what they start hitting you? He said, then I'll think at least they're not killing me. He said, what if they end up killing you? He said, then I'll think, at least in Guru Seva, I got laid my life. What better fortune can I have? He said, now you're ready. Go now. So basically, if we have to aspire for higher things, we have to start working towards it. But if you are predisposed to thinking anger is justified, then we'll not have an incentive to work towards it, right? You will define your own thresholds and situations that in this case, it was justified. That's not the way. So end of the day, we have to get rid of this defect.
Not fair.
आप कृष्ण लीला की तैयारी करो अब.
Yeah, thank you, Nitin ji, for touching this topic. I think many people
Yeah,
are
we did
getting
an anger.
benefited.
We did an anger management workshop
Yes.
also. Maybe we'll bring it again, once again, okay? And we'll talk about techniques and other things. But yeah, it's not justified actually.
Yes,
Who
I
can do
think,
that part of the Leela? Yeah.
yeah. Radhe Radhe, Seema ji, please go ahead.
Laddu and Guddu. Yes, please go ahead.
Are we mute already? Okay,
Radhe
we
Radhe
are mute.
bhaiya.
Okay. Radhe Radhe bhaiya. I have two questions actually. One is, how do you control your anger? As in, we can see that you're too polite and too calm. We
No,
really
no,
want to know, how do you
no.
control your anger?
Don't fall for it, okay? Because in this session, I put my best behavior, right? And for this session, I'm pretty tranquil. So this question you need to be asking Arnima. Arnima, if she's there, she can answer that question. Because if I say it doesn't count for anything. But yeah, I think I'm getting better at it. The frequency, intensity, and recovery is increasing. And when I get angry, I become angry. That's it. But
So everybody has a room to work upon, meaning.
of course, we all have, right?
Okay. Second question is about the result. So if in case your job is target based, then you have to be result oriented, right?
Yes.
Otherwise your boss would just. So in such case, we have to actually be, thinking about the results. We cannot just continue
No, but
thinking about
very
the effort that we are putting.
Very true. We have to see if my target is to make $1 million of sale in a year, I will work towards it. That is my target. But worrying about it day and night, will that truly help me? That is where spirituality kicks in. Oh, how will it help you? You do your best planning, you do your best thing, you put in your best. Will worrying help you? Or becoming anxious about it help you truly? Just think about it. No? It's like sitting on a rocking chair back and forth without making any, So yes, plan for it. If you have to do 1,000, you have to get some 2 or 3 big clients, and maybe you do your planning and put your best foot forward. But when you start worrying about the result, becoming anxious about it and all that stuff, that is what Krishna is saying. Now you are leaving that principle aside and again started doing binding karma around it. We'll go to the other 3 principles as well. You give me a situation where worrying has helped you, or thinking. You tell me, which situation it has helped you. You are even losing your focus on the task at hand by becoming anxious. I've seen people, they go to exam, in my board exam, some people will simply faint. Why so much of pressure, performance pressure? They'll become anxious and faint. They had to be revived before the exam. Why? Because too much of performance pressure they have put on themselves. So is it going to help them perform better? Of course not.
Right.
Their hands are shaking while writing the exam. So worrying, and then you can only do it when you understand these deeper principles and you have mindfully conquered it, or at least taken the next step around it in your little way. But we can justify that I have to worry. If I don't worry, what will happen? No, set targets and do your best. That's all.
That's very true, Nitinji. Whenever I was very nervous presenting or doing any work, or especially before taking a test or exam, I have done very bad in that. But if I, after prepared and had the faith that now I'll do my best, I think I did the best during that time.
I told you, in my studies, I have experienced it so many times, right? School and all, and we didn't have all this understanding and all that, but I've experienced it. And ironically, I was reading Bhagavad Gita those days as well. Still, I got latched onto that outcome-oriented mindset, and I had my first, downgrade in my grade. So that exactly proved it immediately.
Absolutely. Komal ji has also mentioned the same thing in chat. that things which are not in your control, you shouldn't worry about it. And things which are in your control, why should you worry about them? So,
It's a very simple flow chart, right? If you look at the decision point, if there is something, that is bothering you, and the decision point is, can you do something about it? If the answer is yes, then why worry? And if the answer is no, why worry?
then why worry?
How will worrying help? It becomes a mindset. Nothing.
Yeah, thank you, Nitinji.
It's a fascinating discussion. I know we wrap it up at 10, but we can go a little more with the questions before we move to our third segment. Let's take I think Keshavji.
Yeah, Keshavji, thank you for waiting. Please go ahead. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
This is chapter 2, shloka 47. So this is really the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, and there is no need to going in intelligently, intellectually. The simple question asked, the Arjuna was not ready to fight, and he gave the excuse that they are my brothers, cousins, Dada, Guru, they will die, and I don't want to fight. And the other excuse he gave was, I don't know who will win. They are we. So Purushottam Krishna replied here very simply, Karmane adhikaraste. It is your duty to do your this karma. Why? The reason is, maybe at the back of head of Purushottam Krishna, that see the past, how they treated with you in the last 12 years, and plus 13 years. Were they doing to you as your relative what you are thinking about? Were they not your guru? When you and your brothers and all tragedy with you people? So that was the dilemma Arjuna had. And he told him, you should fight. And the second reason, don't worry about the results. They will win or you will win. And then we are talking from our personal perspective, worldly desires and calmness. Like I just heard Darbasha's story. So Darbasha also, he was not a god. Even gods are under the influence of Yog Maya. So at that moment of time when he is angry, he is under the influence of Tamogun, not Satogun. Any god is not all the time, every time in Satogun. They are bound to be in Tamogun and Rajogun as well. So this is the Gita. Because we know Bhagavad Gita, being a student of Bhagavad Gita, whatever little I know, I've understood. So this is my interpretation. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Keshavji. Thank you for your insights. I think Shilpaji, you wanted to say something? Yes, please go ahead. And then we'll come to you, Falguniji.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe, Shilpaji, please go ahead.
I just wanted to share something with the young moms or with the moms who are talking about anger management. The premise being, maybe don't be so hard on yourself. Just the other day, my sisters and I were talking about how our parents used to get so mad at us when we were young. And my sister said, at least our mom didn't tie us to a wheelbarrow or anything like my Yashoda did with Kanhaji, or chase us around with a stick. So comparatively, our parents were not as strict as my Yashoda with Kanhaji. So if you compare yourself to my Yashoda, you're very nice in terms of your anger. So, be easy on yourselves. And I also recently heard a bhajan. It's Maharaji's bhajan where Kanhaji's crying and he wants my Yashoda to take him on his lap, but she's not taking him. And then Nand Baba comes and goes, "Kyun nakhra kar rahi hai? Apne lalla ko godi mein le le. Tujhe bhi godi mein lena hai, usse bhi godi mein aana hai to le le." That sometimes it's just the mother and child play with each other, that they do that. So maybe you think it's anger and it's just your love. So, just maybe it's just your play with your child. So at the end of the day, just don't be so hard on yourselves. That's all.
Thank you, Shilpaji. That's very nice. You are going easy on all the moms, and we'll tackle the question that you have asked, right? Whether we really need to marry or not, right? It's a very important question that you have posed. So we will get to that. And as we progress in our discussion on Karm Yoga, because I think a lot of people will be interested to know, how that discussion pans out. But thank you again, Shilpaji. I see a new hand today, Rohit Sood. By the way, Rohit
Yeah,
Sood is
Rohit.
my
Rohit ji.
from school. Okay, so I'm glad he made it today. So Rohit, go ahead.
Yeah, Rohit ji,
By
Radhe
the way,
Radhe, please go ahead.
we had lunch today together, okay, and I convinced him to drop in for the session. He's been kind and gracious enough to come here. So go ahead, Rohit.
Pleasure is all mine, sir. It's such a wonderful session, and thank you for having this. Really enjoyed. My
Good.
question is, as we were talking about, don't think about the outcomes. Just do your efforts and put your best. Now, consciously, you'll start doing that. Maybe not thinking about the outcome, but unconsciously, you still think about the outcome. It will come naturally, like as to what would be the outcome. How to overcome that situation?
No, it's a good question because see, we are in a conditioned state. We have done it so many times repeatedly that it has become our second nature. But when we start doing the reverse, then it will be that will become our second nature as well, right? So it's like this. When we repeatedly do something, our brain is called neuroplasty. There's a neuroscience branch. So whatever you do repeatedly, there are certain channels that get formed. So yes, initially your conditioned state would tell you, okay, I'm not thinking, but then at the back of the mind, it's still there. But when you start practicing that, you know what, in any case, me having that thing in my mind is not helping me. So let me just focus on the effort and not worry about it. It's a maybe not with the big thing in your career that you start doing it with, maybe with small things in life. Then it becomes a second nature. And then you see, you know what, I've implemented this concept in this and I can might as well do it as well. So people who do that, it becomes a second nature for them. How does it happen? By repeated contemplation and repeated practicing that. Like any other thing. When we started driving the car, we had to really think, at the back of the mind, we are nervous. Are we doing the right thing, wrong thing? But after a while, when you practice it so much, then you are worried. You're not even worried. You are driving and you are talking and you're doing too many other things. So like any other thing, it requires a bit of a practice. But for you to practice, you have to be first intellectually convinced. And for you to be intellectually convinced, you have to subscribe to this knowledge enough in your head. And then it starts becoming part of your life. We are in a conditioned state. It's not going to happen overnight, right? You have to practice it.
Right.
Like anything, other thing, it requires practice to begin with. But it becomes a nature.
Sure.
Like right when it happened in my thing, immediately my brain in the next semester was okay. You know what? In the first 3, what I did, I was just putting in my best and enjoying the process. So again, I was able to get back to it with that knowledge that, this does not work for me and things fell in track. So you have to apply those principles, see the benefits, and then, of course, it will become your second nature when you repeatedly do it. A bit of practice would be needed, yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Rohit, for joining. Hope you can make it every day.
Falguni ji. Yeah, thank you, Nitin ji. Falguni ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Falguni ji.
Radhe Radhe, Nitin ji. Just one little small clarification. This subconscious competence that you are talking about, right? So when we say subconscious competence, it means, it does not mean that you are doing things mechanically, right? It means that you have learned the skill and you're doing it, but it is not mechanical, right? Because even if you're doing it, there has to be some sort of alertness which is present. I mean, have I understood correctly? That is what I'm just wanted to verify.
It becomes a bit programmed at that point. That is how habits work, right? See, when you exert your willpower to pick up a new habit, right? You spend your willpower to pick it up, and after you have done it enough, then you don't have to put in effort for that, right? You have to think when you get up and brush your teeth. You don't have to. There are so many activities you do where you don't have to put in your mind because you have become. It's part of your subconscious at that point, right? You just know. It becomes your second nature, right? When you look at somebody typing, when you see for the first time, it will seem to somebody as if those people have siddhis. They are not even looking at here and typing is happening. How did it happen? By repeated practice. It has gotten so much programmed in their subconscious that they don't have to put in mindful attention. It's there. It's just kind of a program at that point.
Yeah, but that is the question. So the thing is, Nitinji, that it should not be like that, right? We have to be like alert of everything.
Alertness is there. Alertness is there.
Okay.
If they hit a wrong
Okay.
keystroke, they would know, you know what, I got sidetracked and something different happened. So yes, alertness is there, but it has come to a stage where it has become your second nature.
Okay.
You don't have to really think. Breathing, right? Breathing is an activity which is so natural to us, but you know, it is also something that required a bit of a practice, you know, in one of the times to actually, some people do paradoxical breathing as well, you know. So a lot of things actually, when do repeated, we continue to do that, it becomes a second nature, and it feeds your subconscious at that point. We'll talk about conscious and subconscious also in one of our sessions. How do we program our subconscious? And it's a deeper topic, but yeah, I think that was a pretty good question as well. So are we
Thank you,
good with
Nitin.
the discussions today? Can we move to our next segment? Or if you have more questions, put it in the feedback tracker. This is going to be a very fascinating topic and very
Yes.
practical in our day-to-day lives. How do we apply it in this particular context, situation, and take benefit from it? Yes. Who
Yes.
are going
Yeah,
to?
I have posted the link for the feedback tracker in the chat.
Sure.
And also I posted the link to register in Swamiji's retreat, Dallas retreat, which is upcoming September 2nd to 4th. Please do not miss it. And I have posted link to register for Janmashtami Mahotsav, which is upcoming in September first week, September 6 to September 10 onwards. Yeah.
Great. And I'm looking forward to our presentations that are going to happen starting 27th. All the teams are hopefully all geared up. And it's going to be exciting days for that build. And we have 4 hands today for the chantings. Tarunji and Payalji is back
Yes.
today.
Yeah. Welcome to devotional segment now. Tarunji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Okay, now we have devotional segment where we do a bit of a chanting and bhajans. You're welcome to stay back. This is called our desert segment. Let's start with Tarunji and Payalji. Good to see you back. Please go ahead. And Rameshji is going to sing. I think he's going to make his debut today. Go ahead, Tarunji.
Radhe Radhe. So recently there has been a new Shringar on the Savan to Bake Bihari. So it's I think happened after around 47 years he has been put into the झूला. So that was a very beautiful Shringar. And बाके बिहारी को ना बहुत देर तक दिखाते नहीं है, उनको पर्दा कर लेते हैं, नजर लगने का डर रहता है. So just my attempt to sing beauty on that. बाके बिहारी, बाके बिहारी, बाके बिहारी, बाके बिहारी, बाके बिहारी, बाके बिहारी, बाके बिहारी लाल, मेरे बाके बिहारी लाल, तू इतना ना करियो श्रृंगार, नजर तो है लग जाएगी प्यारे, नजर तो है लग जाएगी, मेरे बाके बिहारी लाल, तू इतना ना करियो श्रृंगार, नजर तो है लग जाएगी, तेरी सूरतिया पे मन मोरा अटका, प्यारा लगे तेरा पीला पटका, तेरी सूरतिया पे मन मोरा अटका, प्यारा लागे तोरा पीला पटका, तेरी टेढ़ी मेढ़ी चाल, तेरी टेढ़ी मेढ़ी चाल, तू इतना ना करियो श्रृंगार, नजर तो है लग जाएगी प्यारे, नजर तो है लग जाएगी, मेरे बाके बिहारी लाल, तू इतना ना करियो श्रृंगार, नजर तो है लग जाएगी, तेरी मुरलिया पे मन मोरा अटका, प्यारा लागे तोरा नीला पटका, तेरी मुरलिया पे मन मेरा अटका, प्यारा लागे तेरा नीला पटका, तेरे घूंघर वाले बाल, तेरे घूंघर वाले बाल, तू इतना ना करियो श्रृंगार, नजर तो है लग जाएगी प्यारे, नजर तो है लग जाएगी, मेरे बाके बिहारी लाल, तू इतना ना करियो श्रृंगार, नजर तो है लग जाएगी। तेरी कमरिया पे मन मोरा अटका, प्यारा लागे तेरा काला पटका। तेरी कमरिया पे मन मेरा अटका, प्यारा लागे तेरा काला पटका। तेरे गलवे जंती माल, तेरे गलवे जंती माल, तू इतना ना करियो श्रृंगार, नजर तो है लग जाएगी प्यारे, नजर तो है लग जाएगी। मेरे बांके बिहारी लाल, मेरे बांके बिहारी लाल, तू इतना ना करियो श्रृंगार, नजर तो है लग जाएगी प्यारे, नजर तो है लग जाएगी। जय हो बांके बिहारी की। Sorry if my got a bit noisy, but yeah.
Very nice, Tarunji. It's difficult to know whether we should get more immersed in the bhajan or you're smiling and the happy singing itself, right? So beautiful song, very nice. Loved it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Payalji, you wanted to go next?
Thank
Welcome
you.
back.
Yeah,
Welcome.
thank you, Tarunji. Payalji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Good to see you back.
Thank you so much. Actually, these classes are clashing with my own classes, Nitinji. I'm really struggling hard, but I'm missing these sessions like anything, seriously.
You need to resolve the conflict of those classes, but you can wait till October. We are going to be at 8, the time is going to change for you. It will be 8:30 in the morning, if that helps. I don't know.
I'm just waiting. Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. ब्रज जन प्रियतम बाल मुकुंदम राधा रमणम हरे हरे राधा रमणम हरे हरे ब्रज जन प्रियतम बाल मुकुंदम राधा रमणम हरे हरे राधा रमणम हरे हरे केसर तिलकम कृष्ण वर्णम केशर तिलकम कृष्ण वर्णम राधा रमणम हरे हरे राधा रमणम हरे हरे ब्रज जन प्रियतम बाल मुकुंदम राधा रमणम हरे हरे राधा रमणम हरे हरे राजत वनमालम रूप रसालम राधा रमणम हरे हरे राधा रमणम हरे हरे वेणुकृतनादम आनंद अपारम राधा रमणम हरे हरे राधा रमणम हरे हरे केसर तिलकम कृष्ण वर्णम केसरतिलकं कृष्णवर्णं राधारमणं हरे हरे राधारमणं हरे हरे. Thank you so much. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Payalji. That was so soulful and melodious, like you always do.
Thank you, Nitinji. I just came across this bhajan in the YouTube. Although I just heard it like once, and I just fell in love with this bhajan. And I tried preparing it, but I did not get time. So I'll again prepare and come back and try and sing this song again. Yeah,
You
I'll do
did it
that.
really well. I mean, I think you got it almost memorized as well. Love it. Always beautiful.
Thank you.
Very
Radhe
nice.
Radhe.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah. Thank
All
you,
right.
Payalji. Yeah. I thought, why did you stop? Yeah. You continued singing. Yeah. That's what I felt. So blissful and soulful. Thank you.
It's
Pallavi ji,
very blissful bhajan. Yeah, as I said, I straight away fell into love, fell in love with this song. So I just thought of singing here. Yeah.
very nice, and thank you for bringing it to the session. It's always a treat to hear bhajans from you. Okay. Thank you so much for that. Who's next, Pallavi ji? It's all your prerogative.
Yes. Pooja. Yeah. Pooja
Go on,
ji. Radhe Radhe. Okay.
Radhe, Guddu and
Yeah. Guddu and Laddu.
Laddu.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Please
Hey,
go ahead.
where are you? Why are you keeping Arya out these days?
Wait a minute. I'm not able to unmute you. Hold on. Hold on. Yeah. Yes. Somehow, let me try to unmute you. Yes.
Have you done
Yes.
something to? No, they're not being
I don't
unmuted.
know. I don't know
You need to
why
fix
I'm
your
not
unmute.
able to unmute them.
Even I'm not able to. You need to fix your unmute somehow. In the meantime, I see Ramesh ji. Let's take Ramesh
Yes.
ji and Ramesh.
Ramesh ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
You may want to rejoin or something because we are not able to unmute you.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe, am I audible?
Yes, very much.
Yes.
So today I've decided to chant this Achyutashtakam, which
Sure.
is composed by Sri Bhagavad Padacharya, Shankaracharya. I will start. The
Sure.
Achyutashtakam means the 8 verses, and the last verse is the Phalashruti, like the benefits of chanting this shloka.
Sure.
Achyutam Keshavam Ramanarayanam Krishnadamodaram Vasudevam Harim Sridharam Madhavam Gopikavallabham Janaki Nayakam Ramachandram Bhaje. Achyutam Keshavam Satyabhamamadhavam Madhavam Sridharam Radhikaradhitam Indira Mandiram Chetasa Sundaram Devaki Nandanan Nandajam Sandadhe Vishnave Jishnave Shankhine Chakrine Rukmini Ragine Janaki Janaye Vallavi Vallabhayarchitayatmane Kamsa Vidvamsine Vamshine Te Namaha Krishna Govinda He Rama Narayana Shripate Vasudeva Jita Srinidhe Achyutananta He Madhava Dhokshaja Dwarakanayaka Draupadi Rakshaka Rakshasakshobhita Sitaya Shobhito Dandakaranya Bhupunyata Karanam Lakshmanenanvito vanaraisvito gastya sampujito raghava patu mam धेनुकारिष्टः निष्टकृद्वेषिणां केशिहा कंसहृद्वंशिकावादकः पूतनाकोपकः सूरजाखेलनो बालगोपालकः पातु मां सर्वदा विद्युदुद्योतवत् प्रस्फुरद्वाससं प्रावृडम्भोदवत् प्रोल्लसद्विग्रहम् वन्यया मालया शोभितोरस्थलं लोहिताङ्घ्रिद् द्वयं वारिजाक्षं भजे कुञ्चितैः कुन्तलैर्भ्राजमानाननं रत्नमौलिलसत्कुण्डलं गण्डयोः हारकेयूरकं कङ्कणप्रोज्ज्वलं किङ्किणीमञ्जुलं श्यामलन्तं भजे अच्युतस्याष्टकं यः पठेदिष्टदं प्रेमतः प्रत्यहं पूरुषः सस्पृहं वृत्ततः सुन्दरं वेद्य विश्वम्भरं तस्य वश्यो हरिर्जायते सत्वरं तस्य वश्यो हरिर्जायते सत्वरं तस्य वश्यो हरिर्जायते सत्वरम् इति श्रीमच्छङ्कराचार्य विरचितम् अच्युताष्टकं सम्पूर्णम्. Thank you.
Lovely, Rameshi. Very nice. The flow was so nice. You could just close your eyes and do, keep a picture in mind, and you can just go on forever. Beautiful, very nice. And you win the debut award hands down. But you may have a competition very soon, okay? You have two singers coming up. But very nicely done, Rameshi, and it's a privilege to hear you. Thank you so much for that. Yes.
Thank you, Ramesh.
Sister duo is going to go next, and then I'm going to sing 2 lines. Okay. You all stay back and hear me as well. Yes, go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Pallavi ji.
Radhe Radhe Pallavi ji.
Radhe Radhe.
है चल चल में छवि तुम्हारी, चल चल में छवि तुम्हारी, तुम आत्मा हो परमात्मा हो, सर्वेश तुम हो करुणेश तुम हो, है भूल हम सब तुम ही क्षमा हो, कृपालदर्शी त्रिलोक स्वामी, त्रिकालदर्शी त्रिलोक स्वामी, त्रिकुंडधारी त्रयंब शंभक, त्रिपुंडधारी त्रयंब शंभक, नित्यायन कला के स्वामी, नित्यायन कला के स्वामी, ए धर्म पालक धर्म विनाशक, ए धर्म पालक धर्म विनाशक, कृपालदर्शी त्रिलोक स्वामी.
Very nice. See, it runs in the family, I guess. It runs in the genes. All of you are so talented. Just when you think you have heard of the Singh sisters, a new one comes up, okay, and sets the bar.
Thank you so much, Nitin. Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
Wow, amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Nitin Bhaiya, you asked me a question about Arya. Actually, she's got her shots. That's when you get after 2 months, as in all the kids get after 2 months. So she's kind of acting very cranky, so I'm just letting her father take care of Arya.
Okay. That's good. But you sang really well. Loved it. Thank you so much. You should sing more often.
Yeah.
You all are so talented. I think we should have Singh sisters distributed across the teams. I think that'll be more. We can have the constellation all at one place. Okay, no. After the act is done, okay, not before that. Okay. Beautiful. Thank you so much. So I think with that, we come to the end of our session. We will continue on our discussion on this Karm Yoga tomorrow. Not tomorrow. Tomorrow is quiz day, by the way. Yes, tomorrow is quiz from next Sunday. This will take at least 2 to 3 sessions to conclude this discussion. It's a deep topic. But thank you again for all the energy and the vibe that you bring to these sessions. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Let's prepare for the quiz. Rahul, all the best. And you can wish also all the best as well.
Yeah, thank you, Nitinji, for such an awesome session. And thanks to all of you for such enthusiastic participation and such a wonderful devotional segment. Wow. Thank you, everyone. Stay blessed. Have a great day, great night. Thank you.
Have a
Radhe
good
Radhe.
day. Great
Radhe
luck.
Radhe. And
Radhe
don't
Radhe.
worry about the outcome of Kahoot quiz.
Not attached to
Don't worry. Yes. Just enjoy the process.
and spare your nails as well. Okay. All right. Good night. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.